Hey, Matt. Matt, can you switch the thing so that that TV mirrors the center screen? Doesn't have to listen to me. I'm just talking to Matt.
Good morning, all of you here. I'm Pastor Miranda Hornsby, and welcome to the hosted conversation for Fifth Sunday, which today we'll be talking about immigration. Let us turn to God in prayer. Oh, holy and loving God, we give you thanks, gathering us, your people, as we seek justice. You guide our hearts and our minds that we might be open to the information shared today, that we might live differently, because we might be your face here in the world, in our community of Conway. We ask in the name of our Lord and our Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen. Let us pass it off to Sarah Coker in Society.
Please sit down. Okay. I just welcome to our Fifth Sunday prayer. Such a big crowd. I did want to read to you from principles. These were adopted in 2024, and I want to read the section on migrants, immigrants, and refugees. Think about these words and think about what we are saying as United Methodists. We affirm the dignity, worth, and rights of migrants, immigrants, and refugees, including displaced and stateless people. In doing so, we acknowledge that the world's unprecedented crisis related to vast numbers of people due to such factors as ongoing wars and other hostilities, foreign interventions, widespread famine and hunger, global warming and climate, and the failure of nation states to adequately protect and care for their people. And again, this was written, these were published last year. That displaced people are particularly vulnerable as their in-between status often benefits, leaving them open to exploitation, violence, and abuse. We urge United Methodists to welcome migrants, refugees, and immigrants into their congregations and to commit themselves to providing concrete support, including help with navigating and assistance with securing food, housing, education, employment, and other kinds of support. We oppose all laws to criminalize, dehumanize, or punish displaced individuals and families based on their status as migrants, immigrants. Additionally, amen. Additionally, we displaced people and hold them in inhumane and unsanitary conditions. We challenge policy of families, especially parents and minor children, and we oppose the existence of for-profit detention centers for such purposes. Sometimes I'm incredibly proud to be a United Methodist. Our first speaker this morning, she graduated from the U of A, Fayetteville, thanks to the Wesley Foundation for providing reasonable housing for students in exchange for and an unspoken lifetime commitment to serve. She could also attend law school. The Wesley Foundation students at that time became active in the Students in Support of the People of El Salvador movement. After graduation, she went to the Texas immigration attorney, helping refugees from Guatemala and El Salvador apply for political asylum. Conway since 1981, when there was little need for she has practiced in various areas. Presently in her practice, she helps with service-connected compensation claim denials, appeal to federal court to obtain their benefits. Please help me welcome Fritzi Baumann.
Until 11. Okay. Wonderful. Thank you. Got to move it down, Sarah. You're taller. Okay. Beautiful. Thank you so much. Cool. Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me here. Thank you, church and little volume. My volume? Okay. Thank you so much for inviting me here, and thank you, church and society, and church and friends. Voila. U.S. immigration policy can be summarized in 3 words: blood, sweat, and tears. Blood, family relations; sweat, labor, both skilled and unskilled; and tears, refugees and asylees. I wanted to go over the major changes in this administration to immigration policy. There are over 32 executive orders that affect immigration policy. And those changes can kind of be summarized as 2. One is increased enforcement. The other is reduction, or in some cases, elimination of due process, the right to a hearing. Next. The executive order entitled Protecting the American People Against Invasion. I wanted to show the change from the old policy to the new policy. So previously, the policy was a tiered system. It prioritized the convicted criminals. First priority in the old system was those posing threats to public safety, including individuals involved in terrorism, serious crime, or the second priority was recent border crossers, who third priority was individuals obstructing immigration, entering after removal, or committing visa fraud. Additionally, under the old system, prosecutorial discretion emphasization of individuals with strong family ties, long-standing community presence, or mitigating circumstances like age or health conditions. The administration abandoned this prioritization framework and deemed all undocumented immigrants as priorities for removal between minor and serious offenses. Additionally, people who have never been charged, who have been arrested but never charged or convicted of a crime, are priorities for removal under this administration. Next. Next. That's kind of surprising to me, is it to you? Because we hear so much about, putting the criminal element, but often an expanded expedited removal. So previously, immigrants could be released on bond while awaiting hearings, which can take years. So they could be work. Parole is a kind of unusual use of the term, I think, but in immigration purposes, what parole means is if someone is outside the country without a valid visa to come in but has an emergency, then the judge could parole them in for a limited period of time. This would be such as someone that needs critical emergency medical care, or ill, or attend the funeral of a relative, and even applied to gone. Now all immigrants will be detained until their cases are resolved. Expedited removal. Previously, it was an immigration tool allowing Customs and Border Patrol to remove an individual who either had no claim or did not have a valid claim according to that officer. And they could be removed without 100 miles of the U.S. border. That has been expanded anywhere in the U.S. So if the individual arrived within the last 2 years, hearing if they don't prove that they arrived in the U.S. over 2 years ago. So in practicality, what it means is any person who's not carrying a valid U.S. passport license or green card should carry at all times proof that they've been in the U.S. for over 2 years. This can be in the form of like utility bills or rent receipts or school. Next. Enforcement has changed in several ways. This program in G, that may sound familiar, it should. It was part of the 1996 Illegal Reform and Immigrant Responsibility Act, IRA. It authorized Homeland Security, which is the umbrella over all agencies, to enter into agreements with state and local law enforcement agencies, in effect deputized to perform certain federal immigration enforcement supervision. The program initially focused on training and deporting criminals in jail. In about 2006, so that was 96, in about 2006, the shift focused, and now local law enforcement screen people on the streets that did not necessarily have a criminal record. And it led to a lot of problems, mostly filing. For example, in a county in Arizona, Latino drivers are more likely to be stopped than non-Latino. Also led to a misalignment of the goals, which originally for criminals to be deported, and then it became anyone that's pulled over and doesn't have a visa or an indication that they have the right to be here according to the law enforcement officer. And immigration law is, the visas range from A to Z. I mean, you know, the religious visa, Violence Against Women Act, people that have been trafficked to cooperate with law enforcement. It's just a lot. and ICE wasn't doing a good job of local law enforcement. It also had resources, both financial and time, to local law agencies, and it engendered community distrust among the populations. Police want people to be able to report crimes and to work with them, and that eroded. So it really, in about 2012, it's back now. Oh, no, go back. Thank you. So, tax IDs. Sorry, I have to look here. No, I can look. DHS, Department of Homeland Security, has requested 700,000 tax records with immigrants with tax IDs, or people, I'll say, with tax IDs. So what's a tax ID? Well, I'm going to back up a minute. Every one of us either been employed or employed someone. We get our W-2, and our employer has withheld FICA to pay on behalf of the employee. It goes to Social Security, Medicaid, unemployment. So if you are a W-2 worker, part of your taxes are paid in by your employer, which, by the way, if you don't have a valid Social Security number, you're not going to get it back. But that's a side point. Tax ID, what do you do if you're self-employed? How do you pay your taxes? Because we're all required to pay taxes, right? IRS came up with a way. It's called officially an ITIN, identification number, that people that don't have a Social Security card can apply for and receive this tax ID and pay in tax that way. DHS has requested these documents and I would say only one, maybe, I think, that has a tax ID might be an undocumented worker. So what would you do? In your taxes? Another reason people want to pay taxes, besides it's the law and you're required to, is anytime a conversation comes to making a pathway to citizenship, it almost always has a conversation. We want the people to stay here who have worked hard, who have been good citizens, who have paid their and this is the first time of such an interagency exchange. Mandatory immigration registration. New, it's been on the books for a long time, it's just never been enforced. I mean, what you're supposed to do if you're undocumented, you're supposed to register just so you can be counted. Now, under this executive, there is a requirement for certain non-citizens to fill out a registration. And by filling this out, what you're doing is you're saying that I am undocumented, I have illegal, unauthorized, you're fingerprinted, you give all your biographic information, and you're issued a card that you must carry with you at all times. So again, it's you're either bound to fill out this form and register and say, I'm undocumented, which in itself is both an immigration violation, civil violation, and a crime. Or you don't, which also is an immigration violation and a crime. What would you do? Federal prosecutors have been directed to immigration, including failure to register and failure to carry proof of registration. April 11th. In many cases, you may not know what to do because it's unclear. For example, DACA recipients, remember them? So back in Obama administration, I think, when the Dreamers Act, Obama issued an executive order saying if you, the United States, as a child, and you register by, you state who you are, where you live, who your parents are, your siblings, where you came from, and that information, you don't get any really permission to stay, and you won't be deported for now. And you can get a work authorization card. So I think over 700,000 by 2024. So I would just logically that since they've already registered, they wouldn't be required, but that is not true. They are also required to register unless they have employment authorization, in which case they're not required to register. So it's confusing. Next. The Birthright Citizenship Executive Order. Birthright citizenship for children of undocumented immigrants and including DACA recipients have blocked its implementation, citing it as patently unconstitutional and contradicts the 14th Amendment. And normally changing the Constitution approval from 2/3 of both houses of Congress, ratification by 3/4 of the state. The Commission has asked the Supreme Court to intervene on this. Next. Changes to political asylum. Before the asylum laws aligned with the United Nations principles set forth after World War II, were able to arrive at the U.S. border and had a legal right to seek asylum. Because if someone is fleeing a repressive government or situation, they do not have time to ask for permission to leave. Asylum claims are based on a well-founded fear of persecution due to race, religion, nationality, membership in a particular social group or union. These are not easy cases. The fear must be proved to, it must be a well-founded fear. It must be corroborated. And it cannot be, I'm afraid of the general conditions in my country, the crime, the extortion, to be directed individually. That is what makes a valid claim. The executive order currently bans the entry of undocumented migrants to the U.S., and Border Patrol agents have been instructed to turn people away without granting them asylum hearings. The Remain in Mexico policy from Trump's first term has been reinstated. This forced non-Mexican political asylum seekers to wait in Mexico until their claims in the U.S. were resolved. It impacted about 71,000 people under first term. So, you know, if you're in Mexico from another country seeking political, and it forced, well, it was unsavory conditions, and people are ripe for criminal activities while waiting. Next. The Alien Enemies Act that we've heard about. This is a 1798 quickly deport people who are citizens of an enemy nation to the United States without holding immigration court hearings. Only Congress can declare war, but in the 17th, the president the power to use this tool, the invasion. It has been used only 3 times in history. Most infamously, it was used during World War II to detain Japanese and Japanese Americans. This month, it was revived to deport over 200 Venezuelan migrants without hearings based on Trump's designating gang as a terrorist group. A judge temporarily blocked the order, but the administration is pushing back. Also, there is a national emergency order directing military resources to support mass deportation efforts, including detention expansion and border security operations. It formalizes military involvement in immigration enforcement and creates a Homeland Security Task Force to manage deportations in all 50 states. Next. I threw this in there because often we hear, well, aren't they a drain on our government resources? So what benefits are undocumented people entitled to receive if they meet the other criteria? Not SNAP, not temporary assistance for needy families, not supplemental security income, SSI, not Medicaid except emergency Medicaid, not Medicare, not Affordable Health Care Act insurance. What they may be eligible to receive is emergency Medicaid, including labor and delivery, WIC programs providing health care and nutrition to pregnant mothers and infants, school breakfast and lunch, and public health service such as immunizations. Next. DACA, what happens now? As of now, the program remains active, but faces an uncertain future. Existing DACA grants and related employment authorizations are valid until they expire unless individually terminated. DACA renewals continue to be accepted and processed by USCIS. Initial DACA applications are being accepted but are not being processed due to a federal court injunction. I misspoke. There are 537,000 DACA recipients currently. Next. Does the First Amendment apply to non-citizens? Well, remember, U.S. Constitution starts with "we the people." It doesn't start with "we the citizens." The First Amendment protects the right of all to speak, protest, and publish views regardless of citizenship status. And that's in regards to any criminal and civil action that might be taken. But the deportation area in this is a gray area, and this is where the administration is operating within this gray area. The Trump administration is revoking hundreds of visas, 300 so far, according to Secretary of State Marco Rubio. In New York, Muhammad Khalil, an anti-war protester in Columbia University, was detained after the government accused him, without providing evidence, of Hamas ties. Georgetown University researcher Badar Khan Surdi was targeted because his wife is Palestinian, according to his attorneys. In Boston, Tufts student Rumeysa Ozturk was detained by masked officers a year after co-writing an op-ed criticizing the university's response to pro-Palestinian activism. Next. Know your rights. We have a right to expect privacy in our homes due to the Fourth Amendment. It protects the right of people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects from unreasonable searches. The U.S. Supreme Court has held that this applies to all people, documented or not, and it applies to government agencies, including ICE. So how to respond if an immigration agent approaches your residence? So you get a knock on the door, and by the way, they can and will say anything. They may say, ma'am, your son's been involved in a terrible accident. May I come in and talk to you about it? Don't open the door. An open door implies consent. So do not open the door. Ask, do you have a warrant? If they say yes, ask to see it. Please put it on the window. Please slip it under the door. And take a photo of it. Make sure that, review it. Make sure it has all the correct indicia that a warrant should have, and I'll show you that on the next slide. You can always assert your right. I am exercising my right to remain silent. And of course, do so respectfully and never run. Next. Judicial warrants look a lot like immigration warrants, but they're a lot different. A judicial warrant, if it has all the correct criteria, does require a door to be opened. But make sure, at the top it'll say it's either from a state or federal court. Sarah, I see you looking at your watch, thank goodness. Will you indicate to me, like, perfect, thank you. I'm sorry, yes. So the judicial warrant, make sure that it's directed to the right person, to the right address, that the scope of it covers what they're asking for. Only is it signed by a judge. The immigration warrant will say immigration court or USCIS or something like that. That does not require a door to be opened. Only a judicial warrant does. Next. Judicial subpoenas and immigration subpoenas also kind of look like judicial warrants, but they're not, and they do not require that a door be opened. Next. If you're stopped in a vehicle, of course you have a lesser expectation of privacy, and it varies state to state, but in Arkansas you must state your name, show your driver's license or form of ID if you have it, vehicle registration, and proof of insurance. You have the right to remain silent, and you do not have to answer any questions about immigration status or where you're born. Next. What can we do? So happens there's a vigil tonight. This is put together by Arkansas United, which is a really well-respected organization. They've been working closely with the state legislature, which also has some pretty scary bills. And so tonight it's, I can't read the address here, on Amity Road, 110 South Amity Road at 6 o'clock. Suggested that you wear white and bring a candle, and it's a prayer vigil. Next. What can we do? Know your rights red cards. I brought a box of them. Please feel free to take a handful or two. I just take them and drop them off in different locations, public bathrooms, gas stations, anywhere, so people can find them and pick them up and maybe feel some solidarity with the community. We all have the right to video arrest, except we cannot interfere with the arrest, and we must be open and transparent about it. So just saying, I'm videoing this for the protection of everyone involved is a good thing to say. Importantly, people need powers of attorney. Who's going to pick up the kids from school when someone's deported? Who's going to sell the house or get in the bank account to pay the bills? So these powers of attorney are really important. They're not really complicated documents, but it takes some education and thought about it before you give someone the authority to get into your bank account. You will want to know, when do I want this to take effect? Is it revocable? All that. And all that information is available at the website down below at Arkansas ACLU. They have some nice videos. what would be ideal is if communities had a resource center for people to go and maybe just sit in front of a computer and watch a video on how to make a power of attorney and maybe have a printer there and a scanner and a notary public. People are going to want to know, well, there was a one app in the prior administration for people that wanted to apply for political asylum to get in line. That has been turned into a self-deportation app. So people are being asked to self-deport, and actually some are. Obviously, people that have long-time community ties here, you know, a much more difficult decision than maybe someone who recently arrived. But even self-deportation is not an easy thing. Take, for instance, an example maybe common of, you know, dad has been deported. And mom decides, okay, so me and our 6-month-old should self-deport. The 6-month-old is an American citizen, needs a passport, but dad is in another country. I mean, it's just logistical things like that that, you know, could use some both technical and bureaucratic help to get through that. Also, even though people are being encouraged to self-deport, with the encouragement that maybe you can come back if you do it the right way, that's not, I don't think, necessarily true under the law as it is right now. Right now, if you've had undocumented presence in the U.S. for 1 year or more, you are barred from returning for 10 years. So just big decisions. People need to have information to be able to make those and some help to make them. Lastly, I have resources listed up there, and I sure want to leave time to hear from Brooklyn. Thank you.
That was amazing. That was great information. We also have with us today Brooklyn Solis. I didn't even have Solis. Solis, yes, okay. Was raised in Warren, Arkansas. She's a student at the University of Central Arkansas, where she double majors in Spanish and philosophy with a minor in interdisciplinary studies. Brooklyn's father is a Nicaraguan immigrant, which is where her passion for immigration law began. After graduating from UCA, Brooklyn plans to attend the William H. Bowen School of Law in Little Rock to pursue a career as an immigration lawyer.
Thank you, thank you. All right, can y'all hear me all right? Okay, well, thank you so much for that introduction, and I really appreciate you all having me here. So I'm gonna start off with a little bit about myself and why I'm interested in immigration law. Like she said, my dad is from Nicaragua, and he came here when he was young. Luckily, he did find a path to citizenship, but as we're well aware, most people don't, or it's very difficult to do so. Another reason that I'm so passionate about immigration law is because many of my friends from UCA are immigrants or they're coming to study, and then my boyfriend who came with me today, Carlos, is an immigrant from Nicaragua as well. Finally, I'm very interested in this because coming from Southeast Arkansas, there are very limited resources for immigrants. So most people in Warren, Arkansas, they'll have to come probably up to Conway or Little Rock, which is about an hour and a half for most people. And those who live further south have to go even further for those resources. So currently, I am an intern at Alliance Immigration Services in Little Rock, Arkansas. And our mission is to provide affordable immigration services to people in need. Generally, we provide those services to Latinos, but our services are open to people of all nationalities. So our founder, his name is Steve Stanford, and he founded it in 2005. And our main lawyer right now is Javier Contreras, and he also has family from Mexico. So like I said, the goal being providing immigration services at an affordable price. That means we offer services at either pro bono or low bono, which means either free or at a much lower cost. And the way we're able to do that is by donations from our community, which we are very thankful for. So we offer a variety of services at our immigration firm, some of which are naturalization, parole, adjustment of status, DACA, and then employment authorization documents. Among other things, those are some of our most popular, but it's very important to our community because even though there are some immigration lawyers, there are limited in terms of like cost and then also the language barrier, as many of the immigrants in Arkansas don't speak fluent English. So, it's very interesting for me as I've been able to see these changes. I've not been very involved in the immigration law community just because I am still an undergraduate student. But since we've seen the changes in the government, we've been able to see those changes constantly. So honestly, the most touching thing to me is seeing the people that come in there. You know, many people, they're confused because the laws are constantly changing, or they're scared because they don't know what lies in store for them. So luckily, we do have a great team. We have paralegal, we have a legal assistant, and then our founder and our lawyer. And they're always reaching out to our clients and like making sure they feel safe. But it is very scary for many people because they just don't know what's going to come for them. So we can be found at allianceimmigrationservices.org, which is our website, and then you can learn more about us, contact us if you need to, and then that just allows us to keep providing those services for people.
For another state. I mean, yeah, basically. I mean, I do a lot through American Immigration Lawyers Association, has a lot of good I mean, there are a lot of good resources out there nowadays, thank goodness. ACLU has a lot of good resources as well. I can't think, National Immigration Project, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in immigration law in total, it is federal law, which is nice because it does apply for the entire United States. But states, you know, they vary differing, like on resources. So for example, Arkansas, we do have some resources, but not as limited, not as expansive as maybe Florida. So especially in like lower parts of like southeast Arkansas. So it really just, like she said, depends on the area.
Yes, Cecilia. Oh, yeah, Vigil. That's a. Yeah, sure. It's 110 South Amity Road in Conway tonight at 6 o'clock. It'll be a prayer, message to the community, close with a long round of applause for those suffering and lives lost and those reported, and perhaps if you want to dress in white and bring a white candle. Oh, ICE, thank you. Immigration Customs Enforcement. They're the enforcement branch of immigration. They used to be called BICE, Border Immigration Customs, but they liked ICE.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. I can direct you to our website, or if you would like to scan a QR code, I have one of those as well. But yes, ma'am. Of course. Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Beautiful.
All right.
Esther? Well, yeah, you hear that. They should just get in line. And you heard, you know, political asylum, no line. can kind of take and you can correct me because it's been a while, but maybe the most common scenario you would think of people, married to a U.S. citizen. Okay, definitely we want them here, so what do you have to do? But if you have unlawful presence for over a year, you have to leave the country to process that, and then you face a 10-year bar to return. Now, you can ask that you be granted a waiver based on the hardship that it causes the U.S. citizen. Remember, not you, but the hardship it may cause a U.S. citizen. But, how many people are going to do that, exit the country and get in line in the most common scenario? Oh, yeah. Yeah, brother and sister visas are often 20 years plus. Is
Right.
that?
Yes, ma'am. And then it just also depends on what kind of visa you're coming for. So the U visas, which are the ones for traffic victims or women who have been battered by a U.S. citizen or something like that, those are going about 7.5, 8 years right now. And so generally they do let them stay in the country, but with everything going on, we don't know that, which puts them at another risk.
I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with it.
I'm not familiar off the top of my head.
Thank you, that's really important. Thank you for bringing it up. They're a good group too if you go to their website and get on their mailing list. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We give a big thank you to Brooklyn and Fritzy for being here, being our speakers today for this Fifth Sunday presentation. And a huge gratitude to our Church and Society committee who put these on. Thank you so much to all of the hard work that went into planning that. I do invite you to take note of the resources that have been shared today, and we will try to get those out as well so you can explore them a little bit more in depth. And I invite you to save the date for our next Fifth Sunday presentation, which will be in June. And we will be discussing the rights of Pride Month and our LGBTQIA plus neighbors and friends. So we invite you to save that date and be a part of that conversation and share information going forward. Yes. We hope we'll provide them digitally. If you're not in our e-witness, we'll make sure that they are there at some point, if not this week, next. Okay, great. All right, let us go in peace and go forth in action with making changes based on what we know.